Sir, your mic is off. We can't listen you.
Hello.
Sir, good
Yes,
afternoon,
sir.
sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Hello.
sir. Okay, sir.
Now it is okay, sir.
Just a second. Okay. Is it okay? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Audible,
sir.
sir.
Now it is clear now? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
It's
sir.
clear, sir.
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Yeah, okay. Let me reduce the fan sound also. Yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. So, as I was just discussing that, today in today's class, we will be discussing about the caste system, its futures and functions, and its impact on society. And you can refer in your syllabus that it's a block for social change in India. And in that block, it is a unit 10 that talks about caste system, the definition, that origin, and futures of caste system, and of course, the changes in caste system and so on. So this is a primarily this unit, and we'll be dealing in today's class. So, as you all know, that this caste system plays a crucial role in Indian society, not only in terms of determining the social structure of Indian society, but also and how that social structure is determined by the caste structure. So, in a way that there is an interplay between these two, denominations. That on the one hand, the caste system determines the social structure, and social structure also determined by caste system. So, in a way that there is a link between these two, the social institutions. So before I go on discussing about the caste system in general, so let me begin with the try to understand what is caste system, right? That how one can define caste system, right? So we'll be starting with that standpoint, and from that standpoint, and I will try to understand. What the constitutes the phenomenon of caste system. So what constitutes, in other words, what are the ingredients of caste system? So it's a very complex subject, no doubt in that. But in this next the 1 hour lecture, so I'll be introducing you to the definitions and features of caste system and its functions, of course, in today's class. As you all know that the caste is a system of social stratification which lies at the very root of social structure of most social groups in India, right? So by social structure, so we mean the persistent pattern of social interaction existing within as well as among social groups, right? So these patterns of social interaction are guided by the normative system of the society. So what is normative system of the society? What I mean here is this caste system is governed by the ideology of Hinduism, right? It doesn't function in isolation. It functions in relation to the norms of the society. Norms of the society in the sense what? Norms of the Hindu society. Norms of the ideology of the Hindu system, right? So it operates according to the norms of the the Hinduism. Therefore, the caste system is a derivative of Hinduism. It functions according to the ideologies, ideas, and perspectives and theories of Hinduism. Therefore, it is a normative system of this society. The caste system is a normative system of the society, means what? It functions according to the norms of the society. So, society in the sense Hindu society again. Society generally, we generally speak society in general, but again we have to be very specific that what society we are referring to. Right? When we talk about caste system, we are referring to the Hindu society. When we talk about Hinduism, caste system, we are referring to the Hindu society. Therefore, the caste system is a normative system of the Hindu society. Right? So the caste structure is thus the pattern of social behavior, is thus the pattern of social behavior in which groups and individuals are guided by prescribed set of norms, values, and sanctions. I'm using the word here, prescribed set of norms. What is meant by prescription? When you go to a doctor, right? So he writes medicines according to the diagnosis of the disease, right? So what is does, he gives a prescription that includes medicines, isn't it? So here also this is a prescribed set of norms, and the individual who is born in Hindu society, who's born in caste system rather, so he has to function according to the predetermined prescribed syllabus. So before he is born, everything is written. Suppose if a person is born in a Brahmin family, is a prescribed syllabus for him. So he has to follow the norms and regulations of the prescribed syllabus, right? So first he has to learn. So he has to learn what that Brahmanism is all about. He has to learn what caste system is all about. He has to learn what the Hindu religion is all about, and how that Hindu religion is differentiated from other religions, and so on. So this means that, so even if a person is before born, at the time of birth, he gets a tag, that whether he's a Muslim or a Hindu, and so on, right? So even within the Hinduism, so the caste is a factor, is a tag that is being attached to an individual, even if he is named, after somebody, after some god, and so on. So this thing is called prescribed set of norms, values, and sanctions. Why I'm saying sanctions? Sanctions means what? Who sanctions it? It is not the Indian state. It is not the educational system. It is not somebody, but it is the religious heads. It is the religious textbooks. So what religious textbooks the caste system has? They again the Puranas, Vedas, Upanishads, Samhitas, Itihasas, and so on, isn't it? So all these textbooks are a derivative of, in other words, this caste system is derivative of all these textbooks, right? Suppose, why I'm saying this point. So again, just to begin, to further. So which textbook, you may ask me this question. So, but particularly in Rig Veda, this 11th text, I guess, that there is a textbook called the Purusha Sukta, right? In that Purusha Sukta, the caste system is written, and the caste system is written in a such a way that in fact it clearly defines the rules and regulations of Varna system, right? So again, the Varna system, what it has a 4 divisions, right? So that the entire Hindu society is being divided into 4 Varnas. Again, what is Varna? Varna it means color. So based on the color and knowledge, that society is being divided some centuries ago, some thousands and thousands of centuries ago. And what happened in that, in that Varna system, and you find that the upper ladder of that society is the Brahmins, and followed by Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and Shudras, and the last one, then which is actually not part of this Varna system. Those are outcasts. Those are called untouchable caste. Right? Those practices were there. Those practices were actually derivative of the textbooks and scriptures. So therefore, those practices were sanctioned by religious heads, and particularly religious heads in Hinduism means who? And these people are come from Brahmin background, because they are the priest, and they hold the authority of the temple, and they hold the authority of the Vedas to teach, prescribe, and sanction, and that order. Of course, this time, once they preach that, once they say that this is the thing, this is not the thing, and those practices should be sanctioned by the again Kshatriya class. The king used to give ordinance for that such practices. So even the caste system also, that whatever we see today, that that there are a lot of you find that I'm sure you might have seen in your daily routine life that each caste has its own set of rules, behavior, and beliefs and norms, isn't it? So each caste has its own set of practices. Even today we have almost thousands of castes in India, so each caste has its own set of beliefs. They follow a particular pattern of social life, right? So those social life again is sanctioned by the this scriptures and Vedas and textbooks and so on. So what I'm indicating here is this caste system are guided by prescribed set of norms, values, and sanctions. The sanctions means what? And Brahman says that who should be sanctioned. But Brahman always quotes that it is not me. It is already written some thousands of years ago. Some gods has written it. They quote from the Vedas. They quote from the and the scriptures and so on. So they say that it is not me. I'm saying this point. It is already sanctioned by some thousands of years ago. I'm only re-quoting it just to put the social order in society. And this sort of understanding is called the sanctioned order in caste system. Therefore, again, I'm repeating that this caste system is guided by prescribed set of norms, values, and sanctions, isn't it? So the groups and individuals occupy specific statuses within and in relation to other groups. And in this system, individuals are born into a certain caste and thereby acquire the role and status associated with that caste identity. As I said that individuals are born according to that in that particular caste. In that particular caste again is governed and sanctioned by role and status. What is meant by role and status here? I'm again using these two terms. This caste system acquired the features of role and status associated within that system. What does it mean here? I mean that, so the role and status means what? So suppose if a person is born into a Brahmin, for example, so what is his role? His role is that his role is to learn the Vedas. His role is to mediate between God and the devotee, isn't it? So he is to take the authority of the that temple authority, that teaching and learning, teaching and preaching, that those Vedas and so on. So this is called the role of the Brahman. So what status he acquires again? He acquires the higher status in society. He gets a good prestige in society. So wherever he goes, wherever he goes, that red carpet follows along with him, isn't it? So that role and status is again sanctioned by this caste system, right? Suppose if you take the example of another person, for example, if a person is born into a barber caste, for example, what is his role again here? So he has to perform the role of a barber. He is not allowed to perform the role of the other caste duties. So everything is fixed. Everything is fixed. So his role is to perform the role of the barber, right? So again, what status he gets out of that? He gets a lower status again, the Shudra status. Okay, suppose if a person is born into a untouchable caste, right? So that untouchable is not supposed to come into the main town. And if you look at the village pattern, I'm sure you might have observed in typical villages. In fact, we have still a typical traditional villages in most of the parts of in India, right? And suppose if you go to that village, that in the center of the in the center of the village, there is a temple is located, and just besides that there is a Brahman Vada, and this is again supported by another circle is called Kshatriya Vada. and again you find Vaishya Vada, and again Shudra Vada is there, and among this is the village structure, typical village structure. Beyond that, this outside of the village completely, there is called the untouchable caste. Those were forced to live outside of this village structure. So just imagine this drainage flow actually goes into those lanes, these are the Dalit Vadas. They were treated, ill-treated, mistreated. They were treated, ill-treated, and according to the norms and sanctions of caste system. Just imagine the situation that role and status. Suppose if a person is born into a Dalit caste, so what status he get, what role he gets? Suppose he has to clean the entire society, right? So though he makes chappals and footwear for upper caste, he is not allowed to wear footwear for himself, right? So because he is treated as impure, he is treated and he is not allowed into the main temples, and he is not allowed to learn Vedas, not even to hear the Vedas, for example. Suppose if he chants Vedas and he is condemned and punished to death also in some instances. Those were the things. And this was the what is his role here? The role is to perform and the services to the upper caste, right? That is his role. But what status he gets out of it? Is he getting a dignified status? No. Is he getting the status of a inhumanness? That inhuman identity is receiving in return from this, the caste structure, right? So this is called the caste is acquires the role of status and role, the role and status. Then you have to make sure that you remember these two concepts, that role and status plays a crucial role in a caste system, right? So suppose if a person is born into a Kshatriya caste, right? So what role he has to perform? He has to perform the kingship role, right? So he has to go for power and authority, and he has to protect the welfare of the society, and so on. That is his role. But what status he gets out of it? He gets a status not less to a Brahmin in society, right? So again, this is sanctioned by religious scriptures of Hindu society, right? So what I'm indicating here is that structure, that this all this structure, particularly the Purusha Sukta is a textbook of Rigveda that talks about this Varna system and caste system. And it says that the Brahmins comes from the head, and the Kshatriyas comes from the shoulder, and whereas the Vaishyas come from the thigh, and the Shudras come from the feet of a Brahma, and whereas these untouchables find no place in entire Brahma. Then the untouchable comes, the Dalits comes and asks that why are you treating us like this? Why are you treating us like this? And those were the things. And in fact, the lot of questions that happened, in particularly in modern India, in against to the inequalness of the caste structure in Indian society, right? So therefore, this caste system acquires the futures of role and status associated with that caste identity, isn't it? Is it? Am I clear here? Right? Therefore, that sociologists like us, right, so have defined, the caste as locally referred to jati, or as a hereditary, and it is also described as endogamous, and that group which is usually localized. And I'm using the word, in fact, among the features of caste system we'll be discussing in detail, but here I'm using the word endogamous. What is endogamy? What is exogamy again? And of course, and you're a student of sociology, and now you're in undergraduate courses, that I'm sure you might have seen the lot of news outside that the people marry within the caste, right? They don't marry outside of the those caste systems, their own caste system, isn't it? So the people who marry among themselves, among within that caste, is called endogamy. That is a very specific feature of caste system. If one can ask me that what defines caste system is particularly in Indian society, it is the endogamy. And even if you see that there's a lot of matrimonial sites, that we see over the TV channels for advertisements and so on, right? Particularly till recently, that matrimony sites used to appear like for Hindus. They used to combine everything and say that matrimony is sites for Hindus, right? Particularly Telugu matrimony and so on. But now that how this identity is actually percolated into the deeper levels of caste consciousness, you can see here that these matrimonial sites now they have gone into the deeper levels of caste consciousness and saying that Reddy matrimony, that Kamma matrimony, that Kapu matrimony, that Brahman matrimony, of course, so and so on. Why it is happening? Because people are very much imbibed, habituated to the ideas and practices of caste system. They don't allow their children to marry outside of those their own caste system. They always search for bride or bridegroom within their caste identity, because the people are not ready to give up their caste identity, because this caste identity is very much deep rooted in the DNA of Hindu population, isn't it? So, is it clear? Am I clear here now? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Is
sir.
it clear? Okay, fine. There is a signal strength is very low here. That's why I'm keep on asking you that if you can't hear me, you can stop me so that I can rectify the signals mistake here. Right. So this is where that caste, when we use the word caste, we are saying it is endogamy. Endogamy means what? Marry within the caste identity. Suppose if a marriage happens out of the, generally it happens, when it happens not in traditional arranged marriages. It happens in love marriage, for example. If a boy and girl are from a different caste, right? So even though that caste bond is not uniting them, it is the love bonding, that humanness that is actually bonding them, right? So if that bonding dominates over the caste structure, they automatically go for love marriage. When they go for love marriage, they elope and marry outside, and get themselves registered in a very institutionalized manner, right? So what happens even after that marriage? You see, the lot of honor killings are happening even in Indian society, right? That you're seeing. That a lot of murders, a lot of honor killings are even they're using the word honor. They kill the person in the name of honor. So what is that honor? That you have to ask that question. Even the tag also you see that honor killing. What is honor in killing a person? That to their own children, right? That to their own children. It's a very a silly thing that so that one should condemn those practices. If a two-person that marry and wants to settle their continue their life through their rest of their life, it is their individual choice, because our Indian Constitution has guaranteed that right, that freedom to choose their own life. So that is actually a fundamental right, that is guaranteed by constitutional norms of Indian Constitution, right? But even that is not happening. You see that even the legality is unable to dictate and make changes in the caste system, right? Therefore, even that endogamy is so strict even today, is that caste system is determined, and again is running one of the prominent ideologies of endogamy. So one can say that one of the prominent features of caste system is endogamy. Endogamy. I think this is we have to very clear and get ourselves understanding of what is the meaning of this endogamy, right? So I hope you understood this aspect. So let us go and trying to understand a different understanding of caste system now. So as I said, that one is the endogamy. And it has what? This caste system has a traditional association with an occupation. As I told you that a barber performs the role of a barber. A washerman, again, it comes from a particular caste only. A Dalit, again, who is ordered and forced to make footwear for the entire society, is come from the, say, particular caste only. So each caste has a specific occupation. Each caste has a specific occupation. That, pottery, for example, goldsmith, for example, right? So all these castes have a specific and particular occupations. They are forced to perform. They're forced to do that occupation. They are not allowed to perform other occupations, right? They're not allowed. At least now education is by making changes today, but I'm talking about the pattern that existed at least 50 years back. I mean, in more stringent form, 100 years back. That, this caste system, of course, you can also relate those practices here and there, even in Indian society, even today also. So this another feature of the caste system is that it has a traditional association with an occupation and a particular position in the local hierarchy of caste. I'm using the word local hierarchy here. What does it mean, local hierarchy? It means what? For example, if you take a village, right? So suppose if there are 100 people in that village, right? So in that 100 people, 20 people are Brahmins, another 10 are Kshatriyas, another 20 is from Vaishyas, and again remaining are from Shudras, and again 10 people from Shudras, and so on, untouchable caste, and so on. Suppose if you take this structure, that though numerically the BC, I mean the Shudra caste dominates the numerical strength, they don't get the status. Though Brahmins are less in number, they acquire the higher status. That numerically, some caste may be higher, in terms of numerical strength, but they don't acquire that status in that local hierarchy. There are in other instances, suppose if a Dalit, in a particular village, if Dalit has a 80% of the population, and remaining only to 20% of the population are from upper caste, again, what happens in that scenario? Though numerically the Dalits dominate the numerical sphere of that particular village structure, however, when it comes to the structure, the hierarchy of the caste structure, this 20% only dominates over the 80% of that village population. So what I'm trying to indicate here is that this caste system acquires a particular position in the local hierarchy of caste. In the local hierarchy of caste. So, and the relations between the caste are governed, and among other things, by the concepts of pollution and purity. Pollution and purity, and generally the maximum commensality that is intertwining occurs within the caste. What I'm trying to indicate here. Please understand, I'm again using the two words here, pollution and purity. The very contra terms, right? One is the pollution and one other is the purity. And who pollutes the society and who purifies the society? What is this understanding? What is this understanding? And who pollutes the society and who purifies the society? And this again, there are some particular castes are assigned to those roles, right?
Contradictions are there, but then they are trying to defend it. They
Exactly, you're
try
right.
to show that the pollution is done by the same people who has to purify it, is what they want to say.
Yes, yes, you're right. You're very near to that. Seriously. And for example, if a person from a Dalit caste, suppose if he enters into the main town, right? So when he enters, when he walks through that particular path, and that path is now considered as impure. If that path is considered as impure, and whereas the Brahmins, they take up the responsibility of to purify that that impurity. What is this, right? So it gets all silly things for us. It may look silly things for today, but actually these are the derivative practices of the scriptures that are there in Hinduism as well as the within the caste system, right? So you take the example of another example of a washerman, for example, right? That washerman. So typically it happens in India, in Indian society, that take the example of a Brahmin house, right? So what he does, Brahmin, so he gives all his impure clothes to a washerman to wash that clothes. So at the time of handing over these clothes, that washerman is not allowed into the main house. He's allowed to stand at the main gate only. So this person goes to that main gate and he handles all these impure clothes to wash those clothes. Right now, this washerman, he takes all his clothes to a nearby pond. He washes very carefully and he purifies it. This all those impure clothes are purifies only. He thinks, the washerman thinks in that way. So he gets all these clothes to the same residence. And at the time of receiving, he'll say that, no, no, don't touch me. You keep all those clothes on the ground. That washerman, what he does, okay, sir, I'm placing all these clothes on the floor, and then he goes away. Now, this Brahmin takes those clothes, and he takes some water. But typically those water is mixed with what is called paspu, right? And he purify. He uses some mantra to get that sanctity that of the over that water, and he uses that water to sprinkle over that clothes, and thinks that, no, this washerman, he touched my clothes, it became impure, though he washed his clothes, right? Though he washed his clothes, and he took he put entire his labor and time and energy and resources, and when he gets that, and he still thinks that, because since those clothes are touched by washed by a washerman, he thinks that Brahman thinks that he's still impure. Therefore, he uses the water, which is sanctity by the mantras and so on, and he sprinkles it, and he believes that those clothes are now purified. Those clothes are now purified. You see this practice. There is a pollution and purity. So who pollutes it? Who actually purifying it? I believe that it is actually the washerman who is actually, although he's cleaning that dirty clothes, and he's actually adding purity to that clothes. But in actually belief system and in practice, this is happening in reverse. The Brahman thinks that though he washed his clothes, he still thinks that those clothes are still impure, because those clothes were touched by the Shudra caste. Therefore, this caste system is actually governed by the ideas and ideologies of purity and pollution. You understand? You understand? Right? So and again, you see that generally that commensality just happens within that particular caste system. So what does it mean here? It means, what is commensality means, what interdining, right? Can we see that still in many villages there is a two glass theory, there is a two plate theory is still practicing in many parts of India. What does it mean here? It means what? If you go to a typical traditional caste villages, suppose if you go to that village, if you enter into a local restaurant, for example, right? In local restaurants, usually made up of huts, and a very typical that village social relations, that you can see once you go into that hut. Those people are called local tea stalls, for example. Okay, I'm just giving you an example here. If you go there, if a person, the owner of that shop, maybe he's from generally he's from upper caste only. Or a lower caste, we do not know. So let us assume that the person hails from a lower caste as well as the upper caste. Okay. Suppose if a person enters into that hut, right, for a cup of tea, then he orders. That person immediately, the owner of that stall, he gives him tea in cup, right? So in that hut, it actually they have two cups. One is for the upper caste and another is for the lower caste. Though the lower caste is giving him the same money, but the upper caste also giving him the same money, and the lower caste also is giving the same money. But but you look at the practice here. You look at the practice here. Once the lower caste, he pays the money with respect, and he takes the cup of tea, and he sips it, and he completes it, and after that he has to wash that glass also. He has to wash that glass and kept again on the desk. On the desk. Where is the upper caste who goes to that hut? He also gives the same money, right? But he doesn't wash his that glass. Even those are silly practices are still existing in Indian society, right? So these practices are guided by the ideas and ideologies of purity and pollution. Purity and pollution. And these practices, they, generally, you can see also. Another example I'm giving, that entertaining is not allowed between the caste. Entertaining is not allowed between the caste. Of course, nowadays we are seeing a lot of changes are happening, but I'm talking a typical hierarchical caste system that exists in villages, right? So that entertaining is not allowed. Even if it is entertaining, if a Dalit, at least 50 years back or 100 years back or so, he can't even imagine in his dream that he's having a food, common dining with a Brahmin. Common dining with a Brahmin. Those were the days. So the dining is very peculiar feature of the caste system again. That therefore that entertaining is prohibited. Entertaining is prohibited between the caste. Entertaining is permitted only among the particular caste. That was the feature of the caste system. Why? Because if a Brahmin sits with a Dalit, he becomes impure. He becomes impure. That is the ideas of purity and pollution, my dear friends. Isn't it? So among all this understanding, what we're trying to understand is that it describes the ideal form of caste system. It describes the ideal form of caste system. However, in real life, there are innumerable variations and permutations in terms of structure and functioning of caste system. What I mean here. So there are innumerable variations. I'm using the word innumerable variations and permutations in terms of structure and functioning of caste system. It means what? It means that the caste system, though the ideology exists everywhere, but the functions of those ideology may differ here and there. For example, in one village, one can see a pure modernity, right, where everyone is considered as equal in particular village, but whereas in another village that may not be considered, right? That modernity, that modern ideas may not be percolated into the deeper sections of that particular village. Therefore the caste system plays a dominant role in that particular village. Therefore what I'm trying to indicate here is that there are innumerable variations. That variations means what? Changes and differences, the permutations, right? I'm using the word again, permutations, right? So again, I'm repeating. However, in real life, there are innumerable variations and permutations in terms of structure and functioning of caste system, my dear friends, right? So being a dynamic reality, right? So which is highly flexible, it has its own tremendous variation from one region to another, right? It is a lot of, one can see variations, among the practices of caste system from one village to another, from one region to another. Therefore, this is where that Indian society is very complex. It's very complex, absolute complex. And you cannot generalize at all. You cannot generalize it at all. You take example of anything of social aspect, you cannot generalize because it may happen here, it may not happen elsewhere, right? So happening here cannot be generalized, by taking the entire that India into consideration. No, we have to be very specific because Indian social structure is very, very, very complex. It's very difficult to define. It's very difficult, absolutely define. Right? So, therefore, what I'm indicating here is that the caste system itself is a complex relation. Why it is complex? Because why it is, we are saying it is a complex institution because we find a different functions of a caste system in different parts of the Indian society. There we cannot generalize. Since we cannot generalize it, therefore we are saying it is a complex. Suppose if it looks simple, and if it looks very simple and described in one sentence, it can be done. But when it comes to Indian society, it is very, very difficult because that India is a land of different castes altogether. The same caste here may be different elsewhere. Give an example, right? That for example, Brahmins means what? We think that Brahmins are non-vegetarians. It may be not true, because that Saraswat Brahmins in Bengal, they eat non-veg, they eat fish, So can we generalize that no, Brahmins are pure vegetarians? No. So we are saying that Brahmins in particular village are and so are vegetarians, and whereas the Brahmins in so and so elsewhere are non-vegetarians. That we have to define. Therefore, what I'm indicating here is that this caste system itself is actually a complex religion that cannot be generalized in one sentence by taking the clue from Indian society, because that Indian society itself is a complex society. Isn't it? So I'm trying to take you to another level now, that that varna and caste, as I told you, that what defines varna and what defines the caste system and how they are actually interrelated. Let us try to understand in few couple of minutes now, right? So in theory, the caste system is interlinked with the varna model, which divides the Hindu society into four orders. As I told you, that the Brahmana, right, the traditionally is the priest and scholar. The Kshatriya is basically the ruler and soldier, and the Vaishya is the merchant, and the Shudra is a peasant, labor, and servant for the entire society. The first three castes are known as twice born or Dvija caste, since the men from this caste are entitled to don the sacred thread at the Vedic rite of Upanayana, which the Shudras were not allowed to perform. Of course, the untouchable caste are outside of the Varna scheme altogether. I'm using the word again here. These are four castes, right? The Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishyas, and Shudras. So these three castes, these three particular Varna caste, they are twice born. It means what? What is the meaning of twice born? Twice born means born for second time. What does it mean? It means what? Those who do Upanayana, it is considered as second birth. Upanayana means what? The wearing the sacred, the thread, right? That sacred thread, usually the Brahmins wear the thread, right? So Brahmins, of course, they wear the thread throughout their life and in the daily routine. But whereas this Kshatriyas and Vaishyas,
Janjam antar, sir. It is called
Janjam,
that.
yes. Exactly, Janjam. You're absolutely right. Janjam.
We
Yeah.
are also
So
Brahmins, so that right.
Yeah,
I am
okay.
also Brahmin, sir.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. So you know that what I'm speaking here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. And of course, being a Brahmin is not an easy in India.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this three caste and they're allowed to do upanayana. Upanayana means what? Before that marriage happens, that the men from this caste, they're allowed to go for perform upanayana. They're allowed to wear that sacred thread, among the over their shoulders. But whereas the Shudras are not allowed, because they are not considered as twice born. Again, you may ask me that why what is it the twice born who gave that sanctity to those castes? It is the sanctity given by again the Rig Vedam. It is the sanctity given by the religious structures and scriptures, right? So these Brahmins, they take the hint from uh, those scriptures and literature. They direct the entire society to be in that order according to the sanctions of caste system, right? So whereas the Shudras here, they are not allowed to perform this Upanayana in a way that Shudras are not allowed to wear this sacred thread. Of course, the untouchables are not are completely outside of this Varna scheme. Completely outside of this Varna scheme. Now you may ask me a question. Of course, this is a general question that comes to our mind that if a untouchable caste is outside of this Varna, right? Right? He may be happy, because he's not part of this hierarchy of the structure. He's not allowed, to be part of that structure. Of course, he's happy because he's not allowed into that graded structure of Hindu society. But why is complaining? Why is complaining? Though he is not part of this Varna system, but why is complaining? Because because these four Varnas are dominating over the Dalits. One thing is that they want the services of Dalits, but they say that you are still untouchable. You are still untouchable. Because untouchables are the scavengers of society. They clean entire society. In fact, they are the purifier, they give purity to that society. How the great job is that for them actually, though it is a forced job over them, we should respect that, no? Isn't it? If they perform the duties of that impurity to give the purity to that society, instead of respecting them, instead of treating them like humans, what this Varna system is doing against Dalits, that we have to question. That we have to question. That Dalit, though these untouchable castes are outside of this Varna scheme, but instead of leaving them alone, by treating them as human beings, but still that Varna system is taking the services of these untouchable caste. Still, they are treated as untouchables. What is touchability? Untouchability? Come on, yeah. This is a very when it comes to our mind, because we are the students of sociology, we have to condemn it, because no other student will study this aspects, because we as a student of sociology, we have to study these aspects very very detailed and critical manner, because we see these things in our everyday life. For a physicist, he does his experiments in his lab. A chemist, he does his experiments in his lab, because that lab is entire world for them. But whereas the sociologist, it is the society is the lab for sociology students. It is a society, because we see in everyday life, and we have to be very careful, in understanding, about the caste system, about the religious system, be it the Hindu, be it the Muslim, be it the Christianity, be it everything, so all these aspects are studied by sociologists in a detailed manner, isn't it? So my dear friends, so in this class I tried to explain the meaning, of course, not the definitions, but we try to understand generally about the caste system. In the next class, what we'll do, we'll study about the relation between the Varna and caste system, right? And how they're interlinked, and how the caste is a derivative of that Varna system, how it happened, how it evolved as a concept altogether, and what happened to the Indian Hindu structure altogether. That we'll study in the next class. Hope you enjoyed this class. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I'll stop here because we are constrained by time here. So again, I'll start the class tomorrow on, and we'll be discussing on Varna and the caste in a much detailed manner. Right? Any questions you have, dear friends? Have you all enjoyed the class?
Yes, sir. No questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think it
Yes,
is
sir.
recorded class. You can also refer later. I'm sure
Okay.
they'll keep this video on the YouTube also. You can circle it among your friends. We can have a discussion in the next class also.
Will we
Okay.
be able to get any kind of notes anywhere by any chance?
Yeah, notes in the sense it is a 1 hour class. So what we are doing is that, so we are actually giving a general class, combining all topics together, so that
Yes.
you'll have a understanding when you study the syllabus. You will have an understanding. This is only an entry point. This is only an entry point, right? So
Yeah.
but you can actually come to the university and talk to us in person, so that we'll be able to help you in giving notes and so on, right?
Yeah, I,
So
I have actually seen in other groups that there were offline classes and all that, but then we never came to know about the offline classes. When and where it will be conducted, I do not have an idea about it.
yeah, true. And in fact, for PG students, we are conducting, and now we are, and you will get a notice very soon. For UG students also, we'll be conducting the classes very soon. And because this is a very diverse group, I know you may be from Hyderabad and other from Nizamabad. It is difficult for us to conduct a offline class. Combining all the students together. So in fact, the students are themselves demanding that they are unable to attend offline classes. So for that reason, we are conducting these online classes. But even then, despite all these hurdles, you can still come to the university and meet us in person, so that we can have some discussion over it. So whatever the doubts you have, we'll be able to clarify those doubts.
Sure, sir. So you will be available whenever we come in the weekdays?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
You will be available whenever we come in weekdays?
Yeah, we are available there only. We are available. My name is Dr. Raghavendra. So I teach there. So you can directly come and meet us in person.
Sure, sure.
And
Well, my
whenever
name
you
is
come,
Ahmed.
don't come alone, and you bring some of your friends, so that we can have some discussion.
Oh, that's a challenge. That's a challenge. Because as
Yeah.
as you said that people are from different centers and all that. What I was trying to do
Yeah.
here is as I am from LB Nagar,
Okay.
so my closest area people where my study center is City College. So I thought of
Okay.
getting in touch with all the people, but then I'm not able to, and I cannot go and ask everybody that who are
I'm
from City
also from
College
LB
center and all.
Nagar.
Hello.
Sorry,
Yeah, Pranati is there, and what is your
yes,
name?
Ahmed Yar Khan.
Okay, Ahmad Erkan, and Pranati is also there, available now. And who is the other person? Is Ziami. That mobile name is coming, but not that person's name.
Yeah,
And
I'm
Batala Harino.
Manimala. I am
Sorry,
Manimala. I am
Manimala.
Manimala. I am also
Okay,
from LB Nagar.
okay. Why did you take a lead, and in joining all these students together? You can have a WhatsApp group, so that
Yes,
just
sir, I have
make a
sent
visit to the.
link, and in some groups I have sent link, and I have told them to class was started.
Okay, okay. Okay, so no, what I'm trying to indicate is that suppose you form your own group, that it is easier for you to communicate, and if you all can come, even if not, and if you all agree that we can have a not an official Zoom, but in unofficial also we can have some discussion over Zoom link.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sure, sir.
So please take the lead. Please take the lead and inform us and meet us in person in the campus. See you all there. I hope you come then.
Okay,
Sure,
sir.
sir.
Yeah. But you have enjoyed my class?
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Okay. So we'll meet again tomorrow at the same time. So we'll be discussing much more detail about caste system tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you once again for joining us today, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank
You
you,
too.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.